Hello, my gorgeous Pisces, and happy birthday to you. That was an improv, otherwise it would have been much more in tune. This is your 12-month reading for your birthday. And I know, it started before now, but you know, I'm not one known for my, I can't even remember the word. Promptness? No. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about, don't you, Pisces? I think I'm already getting the Pisces energy coming through right now. Lovely. Gorgeous things. So what I'm going to do is start with months of the year, and we'll go around and clarify them and get any more information that we need, and we'll just go with the flow. Okay? Excellent. One more shuffle or two. Thank you very much. And that's enough. Okay, let's get on with it. Right. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the Five of Cups, which is probably what we need to work on this year for you. Overcoming a feeling of loss. Let's see if I can sit that there. No, it's going to be difficult. Of course it is. There you go. Pisces is very deep. Incredibly deep. So I think this year maybe focus on using that to come back up to the surface, not staying down there, coming back up and sharing what you've learnt with other people. Right, so putting that burden down in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. So, for March we've got the Ten of Wands, just putting down what we don't need anymore. All the burdens, all the muck and stuff down the bottom that has been weighing us down, keeping us all the way down at the bottom. Putting that shit down. Right, what is it that we need to put down? What do you put on? They're very quick today. They want to chat. Suspension, not knowing which way to go. You're hanging on to all that stuff and it's stopping you from coming out of the cocoon. You're hanging there because you don't you almost feel guilty if you put this down. You know, it's like you've been told so many times that you have to think of other people and look at it from their perspective, that you've been doing that for so long you don't know how to look at it from your own and put your own burdens down that you've been carrying that really aren't yours in the first place. They're everybody else's. And I think that's what's time to do this month. So in March, instead of continuing to only look at other people's perspective and where they're coming from and how it would affect them, take some time to really look at your own and what you want and what is other people's crap that you're still carrying. You don't need to carry because it's not yours, it's theirs. And so look at how you can put it down and see yourself in a different light. See how he's not usually Hanged Man is straight up and down and his head's looking one way or the other. This one's looking back on itself. So take a look at yourself this time, this month. Use this month to really have a look at yourself. April is the Wheel of Fortune. Lovely. Divine timing, some good luck. Excuse me, Barney's having a moment. Really coming, I think this is the end. So you do this. Excuse me. Sorry for the yelling. Not being very good today. Anyway. So I'd say if you do this, you'll gain something from it because it's Jupiter, it's the lucky planet, and it's divine timing. So it's coming in to your finding yourself. And Page of Wands has come out. Now that's a message of a spark. It's bringing forth a message of inspiration. You could be getting this, but I don't think so. I think it's you saying, and because it's a page, and over here in March you've been so carrying everybody else's stuff for so long, learning how to speak your own truth and use your own voice is unusual for you. It's something you haven't really learned how to do, and that's what we're going to do this year. Paige is nervous. It's excited, but it's kind of like a little nervous energy. And by even stepping into it in a youthful but excited way, that will be enough to turn the wheel. That will be enough to start it. You just need a little push to get over the hump, and this is what you'll be doing in April. So April's lovely because it comes on the back of you learning how to release stuff. The beautiful thing is in May you've got the Fool. So March you're learning how to look at yourself and what you need. April you're starting to voice that and discover that you can decide differently to what you've been doing up until now. And in May, you get to do what you want to do. You get to design for yourself where you're going from here. And, if you look at this, the Fool's letting go of the cards. And play the hand you dealt. It's like you're given a certain hand in life and you've got to play the hand you dealt. Well, in this case, you're saying, no, I don't. No, I'll just close the door. No barking. Sorry about that. He's stepping into his protection mode. Back to you. Oh, Lord. Do you know when children are little and they really like playing and doing their own thing, and the minute you get on the phone, they want your attention? This is what's happening now, so hang on a second, I'll be back. Hello. Hopefully things will calm down now. So, you've decided that no, you don't have to play the hand you were dealt because you didn't choose to play that game in the first place. Somebody else sat you at the table and dealt you a hand and expected you to play it by their rules and their game. And you've decided, no, I'm walking away from that table and I'm going to design my own game and play it my own way because I can. And that is a beautiful, beautiful energy to embody in May. Lovely. I'm just double checking if we need any clarification on that. Nope. So, moving into June, we've got the Page of Wands, which we've already had back up here. Page of Wands and another Page of Wands. And it's a similar energy with, it's kind of like, over here you're looking up and you're saying, hey, look what I've discovered. And it's tentative. But now you've got to work out for yourself what you're going to do with that. And you see the full moon in the background? The full moon illuminates what's been hidden up until now. So in June, I would suggest that this is the time that you really take some time out. It's not the Hermit, but it's got a real energy of, okay, I've worked this out, I've decided how I want to move, and kind of that this isn't suiting me, so I'm going to change. But I haven't quite worked out the how and the where. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to discover, it'll be maybe a shadow period of really, really discovering what's been hidden from you in the past, or even what you've been hiding from yourself. They're not singing, they're not singing, they're not singing. No, I was going to go over to these in the first place. They're not singing. Clarify the Page of Wands, please. Yeah, you're definitely going inside for this one. In Australia, it's like winter. Come on. This is really interesting. I know it's probably a bit boring for you waiting, but to me, it's real deep introspection. And I would just like some advice on that deep introspection, please. Really? Thank you. Excuse me. A sudden, unexpected cut or release, liberation, and a bit of a shock from that. And then you've got this secretive, hoarding kind of energy, which is very much not talking. It's like, I just need to sort this through in my own head and work out which way I want to go from now, because I was, when you're really excited and you buy something, or you start a new job and it's great. And then when you walk in to the new job and so excited, and you walk in and you go, holy shit, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's just like that. And so you've got to take time to learn stuff and sort through how different ways of doing it, and what you need to keep and what you need to leave behind. Now, the next card that came out was the Lion. So it's basically talking about coming from a self-esteem place and a fair place, but a heart-centered place. So my best advice when you come to June is to not come from a head place, but come from a heart place, because that will overcome. It will bring you back when you start getting all, what have I done? I don't know how to do this. Did I make the right decision? Heart-centered was, okay, go back to March. What was it that I discovered then? What was speaking for me then, where I stopped listening to the noise and really just listened to myself? What was it that I heard then? And that will bring you back. Because in July, if you see this card, it's the Knight of Wands. You've got a lot of Wands energy in this reading. Normally the Knight of Wands talks about moving rapidly, kind of in and out energy, not really, almost ADHD. Not really committing to anything, but moving really fast. Now, if you look at this particular card, he's not moving at all. He's almost, look at this, the page, introspection and thinking. And then the Knight comes in and he's really giving thanks. It's almost like, this is what I've discovered. This is what I've learned. And I'm so grateful for this. And it's still isolated. It's still not, heralding it to the world. It's like, this is what I've discovered. And I'm so grateful. And thank you. Thank you for your help and assistance. And now I can move forward. But there's gratitude before the moving forward. Look at the love spirit. Look at the symmetry in those cards. Look at the way they're both looking up towards something. Towards an orb, towards a circular object. And they're both wearing a crown of some description. He's wearing a thing and she's wearing a crown. It's like you have discovered yourself and just how strong you really are. And just what you've missed, not missed, what you haven't recognised all this time. All this time, you've thought other people's beliefs were real, and you had no idea just how powerful and strong you were all along. And so now you're discovering this. And the Empress is the mother creator. She is Gaia. She is the Queen of Queens. She's all the queens together. And this can be feminine, or this can be a female or a male, but in this case it's feminine energy, but in the Knight of Wands it's masculine. So again, you've almost merged both sides of yourself to come into union. It's absolutely July is going to blow your mind, absolutely blow your mind. And by doing that, you come back to a much more centered, balanced place. August, we've got the Eight of Cups. Now, I love these cards. You can probably guess that. I love these cards because they always have a little something extra. See how normally the cups are toppled over, either all of them or some of them have toppled over, and they're walking away. Now, in this case, the cups are still upright. See how she's got a violin in her hand? Now, she's still walking away from outdated emotions and feelings and things that she's lost and things that have hurt. But there's no anger or resentment or, a real aggressive form of, I've learnt my thing and I'm moving forward. It's nothing about that. It's just, I've discovered my path. I've learnt my own music to play. I don't have to live in the pain of the past. I don't have to live in the previous emotions. And to me, this is a real forgiveness card because you can still walk away, but you don't have to carry the rage and hurt with you. And quite often, if you've still got that, you can't walk away from it. So you are doing some absolutely massive, massive work this year, and you are going to be so much better for it. I'll just double check if there's anything with the Eight of Cups. And there's a daffodil right at the bottom. So it says to me that you're walking away from outdated emotions and feelings and ways of behaving. You're carrying with you what you've gained from it, the beauty of what you experienced. Because the daffodil is growing in amongst it. It's like it wasn't all horrible and bad. So you're taking the good with you and in your own way, playing your own music. No, there's nothing else for that. Next, we've got the Seven of Wands. Talks about boundaries and defending yourself. Now, it can be in that energy of, stubborn defiance. But in this flow, it's not. It's a real case of I am who I am. Now, quite often when we change and grow, at first the people around us might just think it's a phase. It's a phase. I don't understand it. Why are you doing this? Or, it's just one of those things they've picked up and it'll wear off soon. When it doesn't, and you really start growing and you really start discovering who you are and moving into who you are, you start putting down boundaries. And it's very gentle. It's a centered knowing. And you learn how to say no. No, that doesn't suit me. Or, no, I don't want to go to that. And you don't have to have a reason and you don't have to apologise. You learn that it's okay for you to say no or for you to say yes or for you to say, please don't speak to me like that. I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to put up with that anymore. I understand that it used to work, but I don't accept that anymore. That kind of thing. It's a very calm knowing. And you start putting that in place. June, July, August, September. Seven of Wands. Because what came out is strength. So you've got strength in the Lion a couple of times. You might have some Leo in your chart. But this is what people don't realise when they're going through this massive change or the dark night of the soul or the void or, really feeling lost but knowing that you want to change. They don't realise that it's the hard stuff that makes you incredibly strong. It's facing the hard stuff that gives you the strength to face the hard stuff, if that makes sense. So, you've got, people spend so much time avoiding things and hiding from things and ignoring them and denying them and wishing they'd go away, or because they're scared of what they'll face. That in itself is saying, I don't feel strong enough to face this. And what you don't realise is that once you face that, you'll realise that it's not as scary as it was and that you are strong enough to handle it. And you face the next thing and the next thing. And each time you get stronger and stronger and stronger. It's fantastic. So, September, October. Time to celebrate. You've done so much work this year. It's time to kick up your heels and say, woohoo, look at what I'm doing. I feel so good. I want to share this with my friends, my tribe. I want to break into a celebration. All of this doesn't have to be hard work all the time. You celebrate your steps. You celebrate your small wins. It doesn't all have to be huge. So it's, they're not making a big thing of it. King of Swords, standing in your truth. Really being good with your truth, knowing who you are, and being okay with that. And, not having to yell and scream, but holding the knowledge you've gained through the hard work. Good stuff. That time. Pause I keep losing my track, in July, August, September, October, November, you've got the High Priestess. Really tuning in now, my chickens. Really tuning in. You're really coming into this knowledge reception, where this has all been about brave and getting the ball rolling and moving and, deciding and what you're going to leave and what you're going to stay and how you feel about yourself and what you're going to put up with, and then celebrating that and your worth. To all of that process clears things up because you don't have the burden, the heavy cloud hanging over you anymore. So once you get to November, you're going to discover just what's available to you and what support is out there for you and who's around. And it doesn't have to be loud, and even though there's a lot of wand energy in here, it's not verbose, it's not extravagant, it's not loud and attention-seeking. It's a very quiet inspiration. There's lots of repetition here. You've got the Wheel of Fortune again. So each step turns the wheel. So if you look at this, you've got putting down the burdens here and having a look at yourself and what you want. That turns the wheel. So you're on a new path with the Fool. And then you look introspectively and discover what you've been missing, and you leave what you don't need behind. You use that momentum to really stand up for yourself in your strength, and you get to celebrate that and learn from that from a higher source before that turns the wheel again, which is going to kick you into a whole new cycle. Because come December, you get to put down some thoughts and pain and ideas and beliefs that you still didn't realise you were carrying. See, there's a nice flow to this. You've got burdens, heavy weighted things that you've been carrying that you didn't need to carry because they weren't yours. Then over here you've got the cups, the emotion side that you're walking away from because they weren't healthy, and you had those based on these external sources. So you don't need to carry them anymore. They were then, and now you're a different person. And again, you're a different person, so now you can deal with the beliefs and the values. And this comes down to, because it's a 10, it's a real core values, core identity, core belief about yourself. You know, there's certain things that you take off and you let go and you release, and this is the core stuff. This is where we're getting right down into the nitty-gritty. The 10 turns back into a 1, which is also a beginning. So this is really core stuff, and it's going to be for the rest of the year. I'll tell you why in a minute. Let's have a look. Yeah. You've got, I told you there was a lot of repeats. You've got the 5 of Wands here, which is internal battle, you know, this tug of war, because your ego won't like letting go of certain things. It wants to keep you safe. Anything that challenges that, your ego will resist. So that's where the internal struggle comes from. Then you've got the Knight of Cups. So that is another way of coming back and saying, okay, how can I offer compassion and sympathy and love to myself? How can I give this offering to myself in order to move forward in the same direction I was moving up until now? Because it's not all smooth sailing, my loves. Have you worked that out yet? But we can make it easier on ourselves by seeing ourselves with compassion and love. And you can see that he's not holding his arm out. He's not reaching out as if to give it to somebody. He's actually holding the cup of love towards himself. And it's warm and it's comforting and it's a real, okay, this is all really heavy and I've believed this based on all of that and that and that in the past. And it's been a bit of a head spin. How can I love myself and give myself compassion and be gentle on myself while I work through this next step? And here's the 8 of Cups again. The 8 of Cups is again. And it's built, look at all this, built up, built up, built up. And now you're just letting them go. You're just letting them go. I'll tell you something about me. It is very, very helped me in this jail of other people for my whole life, up until about 3 years ago. I was terrified because we were never allowed to have feelings. Emotions were not allowed. And so I used cigarettes as a plug, as a cork. And my fear, my greatest fear, was what would happen if that popped, if it got to the stage where that blew. I had no idea what would happen or if I'd survive it, because I could feel it sometimes coming all the way up. And if I'd given up smoking, when it got to about here, I would go and buy a packet of cigarettes because I was that terrified of what I would do, how my emotions would come flooding out, in what form that would be. So I avoided it for many, many years. And eventually, Spirit tapped me on the shoulder and said, hang on a second. You're strong enough to handle whatever comes your way. You've proven it time and time and time again that you're actually strong enough to handle it. We've got you. We've got you back. You know, we're around you. We're supporting you. We'll be there. And what does it matter? What does it matter if you get angry? What does it matter if you cry for 3 days? Does it really matter in the big scheme of things? How are you ever going to learn to be emotionally healthy if you don't know how to let your emotions out? I didn't. And I'll tell you what, best thing I ever did. So, part of this process, getting back to you, part of this process in letting things go, outdated ideas and beliefs and values that have been put onto us, is going back to our childhood. 6 of Cups. And in this situation, I see this as the older version of you going back to the younger version of you and talking. And seeing what the younger version of you really needed and giving that to yourself. Talking your younger self, your inner child, through what they went through, because you're not the child anymore. Sometimes when we go through trauma as a child, we get stuck there and we keep the same reaction that a child has because we haven't learned any further than that. We get stopped. Our development stops. And so as an adult, we need to realise that, hang on a second, we're grown-ups now. We don't have to react the same way that we did then. We don't have to feel the same way that we did then. But in order to fix it and stop the trigger, go back, talk to your inner child and tell them what they needed at the time. Give them what they needed at that time and it will heal. So that's a really beautiful suggestion. In January next year, really spend some time, with your inner child and let the fun out. Play and dance and sing and, roll down a hill and then sit at the bottom of the hill and talk to your inner child or whatever it is. This is all about healing ourselves, but it's a beautiful reading because it's all going in a beautiful direction and a full cycle. As you will see, in February next year, we come back to the Hangman, and that's where we started. We started this year in putting down the burden and looking at ourselves and looking at what we need and how we need to grow and what we deserve and what we want. And then at the end, you're coming back in a whole different energy. You're more open, even though you've got your arms crossed. That's also a form of affection for yourself. It doesn't have to be this defensive, protective thing. It's and when you first start, there's almost an armor around you. If you look, it's looking out past the choppy seas. Instead of swimming or getting caught in the rapids, you're now calmly seeing it differently than falling into it and panicking, which you would have done before. So it's kind of, you'll see that the moon's dark. So it's not a full moon, it's a dark moon. So you've done a full cycle. You've come full cycle. Instead of coming back to where you were before and having to do it all over again, you've gone up a level. So you're much stronger. You're in a much better position than you were to see things differently. Much more open to messages coming through with the 2 crows. And you're much more self-loving. So, go forth. You've got this, Pisces. It's a beautiful reading. The strength you're going to gain, the insight you're going to gain, and the self-worth you're going to gain is just, it's absolutely beautiful. This is what we want on our path. Our soul's path, this is a perfect example of what it is. Perfect. So, how about we find a mantra for Pisces for this year? We have a mantra for Pisces for this year, please. Flying free. I unfurl my wings and I fly. But not alone. You don't have to do this alone. Alright, my lovely loves, I hope this helps. I hope it gives you something to stick to and to hang, not to stick to, but to hang on to as you go through this year. Much love and happy birthday. Bye.